Hello, my merciful brothers and sisters. It is I, MisterMercy, bringing you another video with some Overwatch gameplay. Now, the topic of this video is probably going to be a little bit outdated because this has kind of changed a little bit with more people making videos about it and kind of calming people's nerves. But I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about Genji's upcoming nerfs and some of the reaction from the community about it, because I've been seeing a lot of toxicity regarding Genji's upcoming nerfs among my friends who actually main Genji. There's been a lot of doomsday predictions that claim he'll be completely unplayable after this patch, and it's a big mess. And like I said, it has calmed down recently. People like Seagull have come out to say that, hey, Genji's still fine after these nerfs. But I want to talk about it because I think that this is something that nobody's really talked about, like how the community should address nerfs like this to their mains, because this is basically a video about what happens when your main gets nerfed. So one thing that I see a lot of with Genji mains is denial that he's overpowered. They acknowledge, though, that a hero that is overpowered probably deserves a nerf, but since they don't want that nerf coming to their favorite hero, they just deny that he's overpowered, and thus nullifying the need for a nerf. And it's very easy to do this when you're maining that hero, because you usually aren't seeing that hero from the perspective of other players, and you have a very narrow outlook on how your hero performs across the entire game. You just think, well, this is my main and I'm good with him, so I see no need for a nerf. But maybe a player on the enemy team who doesn't main the same hero as you is just constantly being killed by that that hero. And let's just say, for fairness, that they're a fairly skilled player, at least as skilled as you, and they just keep dying to the same hero that you main over and over across multiple games, and they can see just how overpowered they truly are. So don't just assume that a player who complains that your main is OP is just a bad player that needs to quote-unquote get good. And I absolutely hate the whole get good mentality, and maybe I'll go over that in more detail in another video, but that's kind of outside the scope of this one. So it can also be incredibly easy to confuse your own player's skill with how overpowered a hero is. Like, was it your skill with that hero that just caused a team wipe, or was it the way that hero plays that allowed you to get that team wipe? Now, not to say that every player who does well with a certain hero is just being lied to about the game, about their skill, because I'm sure there's probably many skilled players out there who actually put in actual work with their mains and are actually skilled players. I'm just saying that, when a hero is overpowered, the game can very easily trick a player into thinking they're better with that hero than they actually are. So, but whether it's out of favoritism or ignorance, the outcome is usually the same, just toxicity and outrage all over the board about the nerf. So, what people need to realize is that balance in these types of games is a scale that will probably never ever be completely even. There's always going to be tweaks that can be made. There's always going to be changes to occur, and a company like Blizzard can't really tell how far they're truly tipping the scale to either side until they implement these changes. I mean, yeah, they had the public test realm. People can play in the public test realm and comment on what they think works and what they think doesn't. But at the end of the day, they're really not gonna see how these changes affect the entire game until you actually put them live. Like look at Zen, for example. Zen's big buff with his Discord orb and all this other stuff. I mean, in the PTR, people were testing that, and that was, people thought that was fine. People thought that was what the big buff that Zen needed, and nobody really noticed how kind of overpowered that made Zen until they actually put it into the live game, and everybody was testing it out, and everybody kind of, you know, realize that, hey, this Discord, or maybe it's a little bit too powerful, so that's why they're going to be nerfing it again. But as you see, like, you never really know until you implement these changes. So while this may seem like this whole, like, you know, uncertainty of how these changes will affect gameplay may sound bad for your main, because it may sound like, oh, they're just going to, you know, implement these things without knowing what they do, and then my main's just going to be totally worthless. It can also be a good thing, because while some changes will stick around longer than others, nerfs and buffs are usually never permanent. I mean, we've seen how many changes has Bastion seen, you know, since the alpha of the game. You know, how many changes has he gone through? You think about it. So heroes will constantly be tweaked. They'll be tweaked until the end of time, or until Blizzard just decides to stop supporting Overwatch, which I imagine is not going to happen for the next 10 to 20 years. So, you know, don't even worry about it. Just because a hero is being nerfed doesn't mean that they won't be buffed later, or that those nerfs are going to remain permanent. So, because balancing is a natural part of any team-based game, and every hero is going to have their growing pains. Every hero. They're going to have their ups and their downs, and it's just a way of life with these types of games. And I do sympathize, though, with the Genji mains that are all upset about this, because I understand that seeing a character from any game, whether it's Overwatch or otherwise, that you thoroughly enjoy having some of their power stripped from them, it can be a pretty terrible feeling. You want your favorite to be the best, and you want your favorite to be in the limelight. But that's generally not how this genre works. All of the characters need to be equal. Granted, of course, as I said, you know, they will never truly be 100% equal, because balancing is never a perfect art form. But the developers need to try to benefit their entire player base. So they need to try to make everything as equal and as balanced as they can. And one, you know, common, you know, quote I hear from people is that, but this will knock Genji out of the meta. So while disregarding the fact that these nerfs probably won't be enough to knock Genji out of the meta entirely, metas change. And again, it's like a natural part of these competitive type games. They aren't supposed to be about what heroes are the coolest or what heroes you like the most, but instead about who is the most useful in any given situation. Right now, the meta revolves around a team helping Genji to charge his ult, so that Genji can go in and just be a Rambo and just get a team wipe. So where does that leave the other heroes? What about, you know, Tracer? What about Winston? You know, what about all these other heroes in the game? Where does that leave them if the meta completely revolves around charging Genji's ult, so that Genji can be the sole hero of the match? Where does that leave everybody else? Nowhere. So that's why the meta shouldn't revolve around one single hero and their abilities. And again, this comes down to favoritism. People want to see their favorite hero as the star of the meta. But in competitive Overwatch, the heroes aren't supposed to be the stars. The team as a unit is supposed to be the star of, you know, any given, you know, competitive game. So this means that in competitive Overwatch, you play for the team and their victory, not for everyone to see your favorite hero. You think about it, like putting this into another context. Think about like the NFL. You don't see the NFL drafting somebody like Liam Neeson, like the badass from, you know, a bunch of great movies recently. You don't see them drafting Liam Neeson and putting him into games simply because they think he's a cool guy. That would cause the team that put him there to lose horribly, because, you know, Liam Neeson isn't benefiting the team by being a cool actor. You know what I mean? So Overwatch works the same way. So if you have to switch to a hero that maybe you don't like as much as your main, and you're not a super big fan of playing them, but they are more viable to the meta, and they're more viable to secure that win for your team, then that's what you have to do. That's how competitive is supposed to work. Does it suck that your favorite hero won't be a part of that winning lineup? Absolutely, it does suck. But this is the way of these types of games, and it's something that I think the Overwatch player base is going to have to eventually learn. And there's another thing too, is that nobody is telling you that you can't play your favorite hero elsewhere. You got quick play, you got custom games, and hell, maybe there's even a brawl going on that makes them playable. Like the current brawl, I'm forgetting what it's called, but The current brawl that's in the client right now is all about offensive heroes, and that includes Genji. So all you Genji mains, if you want to like go ham with Genji, you got the weekly brawl to do it right now. Of course, the weekly brawl maybe over by this time, but you know, you got that brawl that has all the offensive heroes, and Genji's in there. So if you want to play Genji, you can play Genji to your heart's content in the brawl. And my final point for this video is that if you actually love a hero and they're your absolute favorite of all time, you'll stick by them no matter what changes happen to them. Now, I'm not saying stay so loyal that you selfishly go into competitive and regardless if they can help your team or not, especially if they're going to hinder your team, you just say, I love my main and I'm sticking by my main in competitive, and I don't care if he's not going to help the team win. This is my main, I play him. So I'm not saying go and do that, but rather take all of their changes in stride, and if you really want to play them, you can head back to quick play where it's not as serious. And you know, Genji mains don't realize that a lot of us other players were in the same boat as you guys are currently in before, including me personally. Back right before Zen got his big buff, it was in the same patch as Zen got his big buff, actually, I do believe. Mercy was actually nerfed, and you guys know how much I love Mercy. Mercy is I don't say Mercy is my main, but she's one of my favorite heroes, if not my favorite hero in the entire game. And Mercy was nerfed, and her ult charge dropped 30%, like how fast she would be able to charge her ult. And was I upset about it? Absolutely. I was bummed that Mercy was getting nerfed. I hated it, but you know what? I rolled with it. And yes, Mercy completely dropped off the face of the meta entirely because of Zen's big buff. But I didn't whine, I didn't complain, I just started picking Zen more in competitive instead of Mercy. And that's what you have to do. You have to adapt to the meta, because a victory for your team is more important than seeing your favorite hero up on that battlefield and seeing your favorite hero in that victory lineup when you finish the game, seeing that cool victory pose that you picked out for your favorite hero. That's not as important as securing the win for your team in competitive. So whatever you got to do that, even if it's getting off your main, even if it's playing a different character entirely, that's what you're gonna have to do. And I think that's what all these people who have these mains in this game need to learn. But that's pretty much all I wanted to say on the matter. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I'm MisterMercy. Peace, everyone.